A super common question that we see in a pharmacy on any given day. This is not generally caused by all the things that people were telling you it's been caused by. Electrolyte abnormalities, you're dehydrated, you're subtly dehydrated, you're not drinking enough of this, you didn't put enough of this in your water. All of those sorts of things that are, at this point, pretty much hocus pocus.
This is Generation Health, bringing you the latest news, cutting-edge research, and time-tested best practices, helping you live a longer, healthier life. I am surrounded by three of my favorite people. That too. Dante DiMatteo, PharmD, how are you, my friend?
Doing well, doing well. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Joey DiMatteo, PharmD, board-certified clinical nutritionist. How are you, my friend?
Doing great.
Excellent. And Josiah Schweinberg.
Over your right shoulder.
It's weird having you this close to me.
Feels all right.
I mean, we'll see.
Okay. Glad to be here.
My name is Tyler Andrews. I am your host. Joey, you had an article that you mentioned, and I didn't get a chance to read it. Tell me what you were reading about.
So the headline is Unbalanced Sleep Patterns Could Impact Gut Bacteria.
Amazing article title.
They go into a little more than that in the article. So it starts, social jet lag and differing sleep patterns could be the cause of a shift in diet quality, diet habits, inflammation, gut microbiome composition. That's according to a study done by King's College in London.
Okay, so we're talking about, you said social jet lag. Yep. What is that?
Yeah, I had to look that up too. I mean, when I read it, I just figured it was like college age, like partying on the weekends. It is that, but it's at a much more, I would say, normalized level of that you just kind of change your routine on the weekends. And to be honest, I fall into that.
Absolutely.
Staying up a little later. What they did was they looked at the midpoint of your sleep. So they found that if it altered by 90 minutes, they found a significant difference, the midpoint of your sleep.
Okay, so you're talking about when you, the air quotes, jet lag, the lack of sleep because you were social. Mm-hmm. You stayed up later with friends, or you did something that caused you to...
Not even necessarily. The way I take this from what I read was social jet lag they're encompassing what the exact term sounds like, but it actually is including just a routine change. Staying up later, alone, watching a movie, sleeping in, not setting your alarm clock. And then I think what a critical part is, both for this article and moving forward, is dietary changes. So what comes with that, the whole chicken egg thing, all of that. So is that just part of, and like I said, I can relate to it in a lot of ways. You're kind of letting loose. I'm going to stay up later. I'm going to sleep in. I'm going to get takeout. I'm going to hit the ice cream, and that's my weekend because I kill it Monday through Friday.
Right.
I saw another article that described it as the misalignment of biological and social time caused by social activities such as work, commuting, and television viewing.
Okay. I think the social element, I want that to be in there because it makes it sound less sad for me when I just stay up too late alone. And there's no reason I can't stick to my routine.
Exactly. The television viewing hits home.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the biggest struggle. Honestly, a lot of people don't realize, I think, that they struggle with this, but this is the name of the game. We'll call it this. Everybody's good and on their game Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There's one social requirement. Saturday, the kids have something. Sunday, you're cleaning up a mess. You know,
don't really get back into the swing of things until Wednesday or Thursday.
Right.
At which point, it's the end of the week.
Exactly. It's a challenge across the board, right? Because again, because of what a grind the middle part of the week is, you know, I'm sure we'll get into, it's you afford yourself the ability to stay up a little later, watch TV, grab takeout, do those different things. But it's the crux of the problem for many people, in my estimation.
What was the dietary element of this?
Yeah, so they found a link, more of a correlation. Again, this is where the interventions moving forward would be critical. They found a link between this difference in sleep amounts on work versus school nights, or versus weekend nights, was associated with lower diet quality, higher sugar consumption, lower intake of fruits and nuts. So all of those factors they found combined to the change in microbiota in the gut, and also higher levels of inflammation and cardiovascular risk.
You said this is just a kind of a preliminary study, right?
Yeah, I think preliminary in the sense that ideally what they would do, not that I design studies, but in general terms, what they would do is they would say, okay, let's look at the group that keeps a similar routine and doesn't have, that 90-minute midpoint sleep difference. And then let's see, do their diets change on the weekends, and kind of just compare. So you have a group that's normal routine, diets are different. Group normal routine, diets are the same as they are during the week, and start to compare. And then the opposite group. Maybe there's a group that, the other end of the group that stays up late and has the sleep differences, but their diet stays the same. They really focus on that. So when you compare, that's what I mean by intervention, when you're comparing a fixed variable, you can much more easily determine, is this just correlated? Like, well, yeah, this the people who really alter their sleep on the weekends eat bad too. It may just be like a mindset thing. It's not that, maybe it's not even the sleep so much that caused the differences. It can be the diet, or like so many things, it's a combination of the two.
Sure. So it's not causal in the sense that just because you didn't sleep, you automatically are going to eat poorly, or vice versa.
Yes.
But it does seem, and it's logical. When you're tired, you make less wise decisions.
And I think the part I keep going back to, maybe because I relate to it, is that they kind of come together because it's a mindset. It's, well, I can stay up a little late. I worked hard all week. I'm kind of going to be hanging out. Well, I'm going to get takeout because I ate in or cooked all week. That kind of thing, that they go together as part of more of a mindset shift.
This isn't conclusive research. It's preliminary. It's not causal, et cetera, et cetera. But is there a functional punchline?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this potentially can be an issue. And like so many things, it's, well, you know what? This just really helps my mental health. When I stay up that little bit later, I feel better. It's something I need to do. Okay, let's just say it's that. I, again, relate to that.
Yeah.
So maybe instead of staying up 2 hours later, you recognize it could be an issue. Maybe you go down to an hour, or maybe you let the sleep thing go because that movie or that show that you watch on those weekend nights is important again to you, and just enjoying life. But I'm going to try to stick with the diet. I'm going to stick with the exercise routine. That kind of thing, to at least just be aware that maybe this, I'm good 5 out of 7 days a week thing, even though as I'm saying it, it's so obvious, but it could be a bigger issue than maybe we know. I think.
Makes sense.
I'd be curious how many of these people are parents. It's like after, and that's because of course there was like the social weekend thing. You'd go out with friends on the weekend and do stuff that you regret in the morning or whatever. But then as parents, it's like, I finally got time to myself, and now I want to watch TV interrupted with no screaming or yelling, or now I want to have this snack. You keep all the good snacks for yourself away from the kids.
Yes, the ones I put up on the top shelf. Right.
I would never.
It's so true. Absolutely. And then again, with the sleep, it's like, well, maybe I'm a little tired, but I just know tomorrow I don't have to get up and do anything with, outside of just normal kids wake up stuff, no school, no event. I don't have to get ready for work. So I'm just going to stay up later and almost like forcibly sleep in, that kind of thing, where you just accept this. And again, like so many things we talk about, it's still a balance. Like I kind of need that time a little bit at night. It's just about being maybe more aware that it can be subtly tweaked.
What are you really supposed to do? What are you really supposed to do if you have a demanding job? If your non-negotiable is waking up at 5:30 to exercise, but you watch House of the Dragon till 10, 11 o'clock.
Who does that?
Yeah. What is the alternative, right? Because then that means that's only six hours of sleep-ish, give or take, by the time you calm yourself down after the episode. It's sort of like the food environment thing. There's really not much you can do. You can try your best not to be sound hopeless, but it's really hard to control the food environment at large. You can't control what people bring to work. Can't control what people bring to, the family cookout. You have no control over those things that pop up frequently. Just like, what are you going to do? Not enjoy the Sunday night HBO shows, or, go hard during the week and then take your foot off the gas on the weekends and, mess up your sleep routine a little bit.
Right.
I'm, speaking to myself, it's like, how do you drive a behavior change that is so largely determined by your culture, your society, your work-life balance? What are we going to do? Push back work start to 11 a.m. everywhere so everybody can sleep in and work out and cook their own food and do all these things we tell everybody to do? Or HBO, are they going to move up their primetime show to 7 p.m.? Is the Super Bowl going to be moved up to, like what do you actually do about it?
Joey, it's that time. Let's talk about what's in the bottle. Specifically, a product that I have used on many occasions.
Me too.
Essential Sleep. I love Essential Sleep. It works like a charm. What in the world is going on in there? Why does it work so well?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, this is about the product itself. This is not a discussion. This is not a deep dive on sleep. This is not meant to substitute for basic sleep hygiene recommendations, avoiding caffeine and large meals before bed, screens, phones right before bed, all that stuff. Those things are critical. But if they are not sufficiently addressing your problem, this is where something like a good product, quality product, can step in.
I use this when I'm traveling and I change time zones, or I know that I have to get up super early the next morning, and so I'm not quite sleepy yet when I go to bed, or every once in a while when I wake up in the middle of the night and I just can't get back to sleep.
Yeah.
Those are the times I use it.
That makes sense.
But to your point, sleep hygiene and all those things, critical first step.
That's the foundation.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I think just broadly, the main concept that I'd like to get across here is that this is a comprehensive combination product.
Okay.
We'll go over those details, obviously, but I think that's the main theme here, is that this has all these ingredients for a reason. They work together, they work synergistically, and we'll get to that. So again, like we say pretty often about supplements, this is not the claim that this is the perfect sleep product, the greatest product in the world. There's no other ones. That's not what I'm here to say. What I am here to tell you is that this is an excellent product backed by science that comprehensively addresses many of the layers that can be addressed with a supplement. It addresses them. And as of this moment anyway, is the best product that we're aware of.
Awesome. Okay. So what's it got in it? What's doing the work here?
So the first ingredient that we'll talk about is GABA. Okay. It is a naturally occurring amino acid. It is a neurotransmitter in the brain. This is one of those somewhat unique situations where you're actually taking in the GABA itself. So it's a neurotransmitter, but you're also taking it in. There is some controversy over how well it's absorbed in this form. Things I've read, though, are encouraging, especially when you're getting it from a quality place like we are, on a quality source, that it is absorbable. But what does GABA do as a neurotransmitter? Its main function is that it is inhibitory. It is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. So that means it blocks or inhibits certain brain signals that are excitatory, and it decreases activity in the nervous system. So this can help with feelings of anxiety, stress, and fear. Remember, whenever you're talking about supplements and ingredients like this, it's not GABA equals sleep. It's what's GABA doing? How is it working? Anxiety, stress, fear, it's inhibitory. It's got a calming effect.
Okay.
All right. Also, GABA is not available from food sources. So we touch on that a lot regarding supplements. What can you get from a good diet? GABA is not one of them.
Okay. Makes sense.
Secondly, is L-taurine. This is a GABA receptor agonist. Okay. So basically that's the technical way of saying that it mimics GABA in the brain. So it produces a GABA-like effect in the body, not to the same degree, GABA-like. So it's somewhat sedating, calming, inhibitory.
And again, I want to stress, when you say somewhat sedating, we're not talking about can't drive a car kind of sedating. We're talking about it just slows things down, it just calms down the brain a little bit.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Taurine has shown, and this ties into the theme of the combination effect. Taurine has been shown that when you take it with GABA, the effects are stronger than taking either one alone. So again, it's that combination of the two that are enhancing in the case of these two, the calming inhibitory effects.
Yeah. Okay.
Next is L-theanine.
Okay.
L-theanine is found naturally in green tea. Got a little bit different here of it's not so much a neurotransmitter functioning. It's regarding alpha waves. So they are associated with a relaxed but alert mental state. Things like exercise, meditation have been shown to increase alpha waves. So that is one mechanism that we believe L-theanine works by. So trials have shown that that relaxation occurs with L-theanine, but without drowsiness. So L-theanine on itself, by itself, can be used for ADHD, things like that. But when you're combining it with this product, it's helping to increase those alpha waves. It's also a glutamate antagonist. So glutamate is an excitatory. You can think about it as the opposite of GABA. It's an excitatory neurotransmitter, and this is an antagonist, the opposite of agonist. So basically, it's a glutamate blocker. Okay. In a mild way. Right. It helps to block some of that excitatory activity. So next we have L-glycine. So L-glycine is another amino acid. Your body can make it. It is a non-essential amino acid. But it does help to produce a sense of well-being and reduce anxiety. So again, we're just trying to hit multiple different pathways here. A study was done where people with restricted sleep, who for whatever reason are not getting the amount of sleep that they want, they found that glycine actually helped to reduce daytime sleepiness. Next, we have 5-HTP, or 5-hydroxytryptophan. This is an amino acid not found in food sources that is used to make serotonin. So it's a precursor to serotonin. Serotonin is a different neurotransmitter. It's involved kind of it's what SSRIs, antidepressants, work on. So yes, it has a calming effect. It also has an effect on appetite and various things. But in terms of what we're talking about here, it's a calming, relaxing, feel-good chemical. Along with that, is vitamin B6. In this case, the form is pyridoxal 5-phosphate, the more bioactive form of B6, which helps you to convert your 5-HTP to your neurotransmitters like serotonin, which then converts into melatonin. It doesn't mean that you're B6 deficient. Maybe you are, maybe your diet's off, but it's just ensuring that in the piece to the puzzle to make sure that 5-HTP actually does increase your serotonin, that there's not an issue here with B6.
Yeah. You need it. So we're just making sure that that's there. It's ready to go should your body be missing it.
Exactly. We'll also have vitamin B5. In this case, again, the more active biological form, calcium D pantothenate, not pantothenic acid. This one has been shown to increase the activity of the neurotransmitter acetylcholine, which is found to be in higher levels during REM sleep, which is one of the important phases of deep sleep.
Yep.
Lastly, and which is the one that always seems to come up one way or another regarding a sleep supplement, is melatonin. So that's a hormone produced naturally by the body, does convert from serotonin, and it is responsible for sleep-wake cycle. Ideally at night when you've got the screens off and the lights off and everything, that conversion increases. It is worth noting that melatonin secretion can be disrupted by hormonal changes, by aging, and then, like I said, nighttime exposure to light. So all of those things can disrupt your melatonin secretion. And then, of course, anything related to the classic jet lag, change of time zones, things like that.
Yeah. So if it's a chronic issue where you aren't getting tired or whatever, that's not what this is specifically for. Those are issues you should talk to your doctor about. This is for those incidental times when you have jet lag or it's clearly explainable and you just need a little bit of help.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point. Because I definitely, in recommending it, there are times when people say, I tried melatonin, it didn't work. And I get that. And actually what we have in addition is something called Calm Day. I know why would I take Calm Day to sleep? Things need named and branded and marketed. Yeah. It's the same product essentially as Essential Sleep. It just doesn't have the melatonin.
Okay.
Because it's surprising just anecdotally talking to people how many times when as soon as you say that melatonin's in it, they're like disappointed. It's like the melatonin's just kind of covering the other base to make sure that there's not something else going on related to sleep-wake cycle. It's just covering a base. It's not a mega dose, nothing like that.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I love about this is it works on all of these different pathways. It's taking multiple paths to get to the same goal. and not just hammering one thing. You're not taking a mega dose of melatonin
Exactly.
and trying to overpower the rest of your brain. It's trying to address all these possible reasons that maybe stress is keeping you awake. Maybe your brain is just a little too active. Maybe all those things. It's all in here.
Yes. And remember too, with sleep, like we keep talking about how multifactorial this product is, it's because of how multifactorial sleep itself is.
Absolutely.
So again, back to those kind of conversations that we have. I tried GABA alone. It didn't work. I tried melatonin alone. It didn't work. Well, maybe there's some sleep hygiene things that weren't addressed at that time. And maybe now you've kind of got those under control. Maybe there's a little more of a serotonin. Maybe for you, the L-theanine is kind of going to be the driver of this. We don't know.
Right.
But when you cover those bases in a safe way of reasonable yet therapeutic doses, it gives you the best chance to have this work. Trying to piece together which one of these will work for you is fine if that's the route you want to go. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But it's kind of not quite necessary either. I keep talking about how this is a combination, a comprehensive product. But the one word I kind of glossed over was the concept and definition of synergy.
Okay.
So synergy is the interaction or cooperation of two or more, in this case, substances to produce a combined effect greater than the sum of their separate effects.
Right.
So when you combine these two things together, 1 + 1 = 3.
Yep.
In this case, there was a study done in pharmaceutical biology in Seoul, Korea, where they compared GABA and L-theanine combination, so two of the probably two of the very major ingredients in ours, to GABA or theanine alone. And they found significant increases in sleep duration, significant decreases in sleep latency, which is the time to fall asleep. And they found a significant increase in REM sleep and non-REM sleep compared to controls. So they found a difference in all levels of sleep, essentially, all the ones they studied anyway. And again, there was a bigger effect than using either one of these alone.
Awesome. I love this product. I really, really do. I use this all the time. It's a must-have in our medicine cabinet.
Yeah.
All the time.
And you can start with one a day. Try to take it an hour before bed. Start with one. That's fine. If that works, great. Most likely you'll need to go to 2. That's normal. That is the serving size on the bottle. And go from there.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Nick emailed and said, how can I quit getting muscle cramps in the middle of the night?
A super common question that we see in a pharmacy on any given day.
Yep.
This is not generally caused by all the things that people were telling you it's been caused by.
Oh.
Electrolyte abnormalities, you're dehydrated, you're subtly dehydrated, you're not drinking enough of this, you didn't put enough of this in your water. All of those sorts of things that are, at this point, pretty much hocus pocus. So
Okay.
why is this occurring? It's likely because of some sort of accumulated muscle fatigue from an activity that may have increased in intensity, duration, novelty throughout the course of a day or a week, or there are some sort of nervous system, nerve specific underpinnings that ebb and flow that lend itself to this phenomenon that occurs at the level of the muscle. Basically, your muscles are always contracting and just as you're merely existing.
Yeah.
So with that, because you're constantly firing and such, there are misfires, and there are things that can occur that are more severe for others, happen less frequently to certain people, and there are certain disease states associated with that can become a really big issue. But in general, it's some like combination of those two things that I mentioned, and not that first issue of dehydration and you did something wrong sort of mentality.
So not dehydration. You don't have to go guzzle water, but it could be something substantial, you're saying.
Which you would ultimately want to rule out first.
Right. So you got to talk to a doctor. Assuming it's not something substantial, it's probably just overexerting. What can be done about that other than don't overexert yourself?
There are some supplements and medications that don't have great evidence or great support to be used as first line agents
for this specific thing.
For this specific thing.
Right.
But just to mention, calcium channel blockers, which are a class of blood pressure medications, have been used in this case. Gabapentin has been thrown around, and then muscle relaxants, which is usually a no-go, I would say, but you'll see that from time to time. And after doing a lot of these other things that we mentioned, that maybe somebody is more of a candidate to do so. On the supplement end of things, magnesium is one of the ones that first comes to mind. However, overhyped. But those who are pregnant, there's even maybe a glimmer of increased benefit for that specific population, but generally not super harmful for people to try. B vitamins, B12, B complex is specifically used.
That makes sense.
Multivitamins, which often have some of those B vitamins,
Yep.
have been purported as beneficial, which I often think is overhyped. We've seen sodium, or essentially salt, kind of tying us back to that electrolyte issue, be indicated, but not a strong recommendation.
Okay.
So with that, we see acute and chronic stretching to sort of help mitigate this. Acutely, meaning your foot's cramping one way, you aggressively and acutely stretch it the other way to get yourself out of that terrible feeling and terrible experience.
So
chronically, that doesn't mean you are trying to bend over and touch your toes for 30 minutes a day, but just that chronic movement.
Right.
Just
Repeated.
just beginning to move around a little more, take certain movements through longer ranges of motion, loaded stretching, graded exercise to kind of go into the second category. Graded exercise or physical therapy settings are useful for people, just more slowly building up in volume, intensity, and novelty for a certain exercise or movement pattern, as opposed to, well, it's summer and we got to get the yard cleaned up. And so you're out there for 8 hours on your feet.
Yep.
And you wonder why for the next 2 nights you have calf cramps, so it's just easier said than done.
Right.
But those are the largest levers to pull.
Okay. All right. I love it. Nick, I hope that helps. This just reminds me of the value of Sabbath, of having a day at least that you just don't. You just don't.
Yeah.
You got to rest.
Yeah.
My coach gets on me all the time because he doesn't sense that I have deliberate. There's not deliberate rest.
Weird.
Yeah.
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 But seriously, it is. I heard a rabbi talking about Sabbath, and he said that he said, what is the consequence of not honoring the Sabbath? Like there are clear consequences to the other commandments. We know what's going to happen when you murder somebody, right? But what's the consequence of not honoring the Sabbath? You have to go 14 days without a break. That's it. That's a rough consequence. That it literally is its own consequence.
Mm-hmm. But it is interesting. So so deliberate rest or Sabbath or whatever, however we look at it in, modern terminology, what for most of us in this day and age, it's a slippery slope to, well, deliberate rest, a lot of movies, I'm just going to enjoy this rest to the maximum. It just means all the other things. It spirals into, and it's not, I sound negative, but it just is what it is. It's Sunday. We're going to get takeout. Somebody brought dessert over. We're going to sit there and watch a 4-hour sports game. It's deliberate rest, but then it turns into 10 o'clock and then 10:30. And then it's just really, it's hard to structure deliberate rest.
Yeah.
I think that's
right.
that's
like, that's the hard part. It's like, we know it's there. We know we should. How do you tap into it?
I think that's a great point. And again, so with so many of these types of conversations, I relate it to my own life, and I find myself sometimes just even having little kids and stuff that when it's a Sunday or I know I'm just going to have a shut off day, what I want to do is lay in bed, watch a movie, do nothing. I don't end up doing that for various reasons.
Yeah.
But that if you take it too far, it's not rest for me anyway, because it puts stress on me. Because I'll say, hey, I laid down and watched this game for 3 hours. I should feel rested, but instead I feel guilty about what my wife has to do or what my kids didn't get to do today. So it's like, if you're resting and it's, I don't want to say pure, but it's genuine rest, and it's within reason, I think that all makes sense. But I know for me, sometimes when I get into like this rest mode, it can backfire on me. And sometimes I'll still plow through it. But I know that when it's adding that anxiety and stress about what else I could be doing, it can be not so restful.
Yeah, I find myself at the same place. Am I going to set time aside to go do X, Y, or Z when I know my wife's with the kids, or I know she's having a difficult time. So then you feel guilty for doing it. But I would say that rest probably at its core is like whatever you do for your occupation or whatever you're producing or creating. It's taking a break from those things and not necessarily like, oh, I have to turn off. Yeah, I think there's good disciplines. We even talk about with sleep hygiene. Yeah, don't be on your phone laying in bed. You know, there are all kind of studies with blue light exposure. But so there's all kind of like good disciplines and habits that we can get into. But I think rest is releasing or surrendering or giving up what you would work hard at producing Monday through Friday. I mean, because isn't that what from the Bible, God rested on the seventh day. He was creating the whole entire time. He's like creating everything, working at everything, and then rested. And so I think it would probably be a break away from what you would normally do creating. And so like, I know the pharmacy's open on Saturday. So like a lot of people, like that wouldn't be your Sabbath or rest day on Saturday because you're at the pharmacy. Then Sunday is probably like the natural day. And I would even say like furthermore that, resting, like, so when you come to set, it's like, oh, I don't have any control over the food environment, and oh, we're just going to order. Like, I think then you're loosening the grip on, hey, now I'm not measuring my food. I'm not, worried about it. And yeah, there's some people who have to hold strictly to a diet for various reasons, but I think that it's releasing all of that and trusting God's going to take care of me regardless, or, so for ourselves or whatever, I'm not going to produce any sort of work, or I'm not going to create, or I'm not going to do anything, and just trust that it's going to get taken care of. And that's not to say like you're a schmuck and you don't do anything and you're lazy and whatever else. No, like you get back to it. But I think ultimately it's I'm gonna surrender and release this whatever I do. And enjoy and be able to enjoy, instead of like, man, I gotta count these. I don't know, like calorie counting, or
what do you do? What is it you do?
Weigh my food, or I got to be in on this. And there is a level of it. I would agree that it's like, okay, I can only do so much of this before I then start to feel like gluttonous, or lazy, or exactly. And so like I think it was someone challenged me one time because I was like, I don't know that I have like a day. I can't just take a day. Like I got kids, I got multiple jobs. Like I can't just take a day. He's like, well, what would happen if I invited you into taking like a couple hours? A day here and there, and that might look like going for a run, going for a hike, getting outside, so it's an hour this day, and those types of things. So maybe it can't be a day to where it feels like lazy and gluttonous, but, trying to find those times.
I think the other piece of that I love is the acknowledgement that I cannot do everything. All the things I want to do, all the things I feel I should do, I don't have the capacity to do it all. I want to. I feel like I should. I feel like a bad parent, friend, employee, whatever. But the reality is, it's not all up to me. And there's a certain well-meaning arrogance when I think it all depends on me. And if I stop, then the rest of the world is going to come crashing down. And I think it's good for my ego to step away every 7 days and go, you know what? It's either going to take care of itself or it'll fall apart and I'll deal with it. But I have to stop for my own well-being. And as far as the planning and food stuff goes, yeah, man, I always feel bad because my wife cooks, and we have gotten to the point now where Sunday it's just known mom's not cooking. So we're either having leftovers or we're going out to eat. And there's plenty of both. There's plenty of leftovers. Nobody else eats leftovers but me. So we just make a point of, okay, that's what's happening today. You can forage for yourself. There's cereal. You won't starve. But mom's not cooking. She's taking the day off.
Yeah, along those lines too, it sometimes would hit me, many things did. Good stuff from Josiah, but talking about rest from your normal work, right? In a nutshell. And I thought about my wife and her normal work is all the stuff with the kids and the cleanup of the house. And yes, I do pitch in some. I've come farther. I'm better now than I was 2 years ago, but I still can come, and I still have a long way to go. And I think she doesn't have that day. Like, that just kind of hit me. Like, I get a break from my main stress of work. She doesn't. So that's probably something.
When's my turn?
address.
Is what I've heard. So when's my turn? When's my turn?
Yeah. And my wife doesn't really say it so much, maybe not in those literal words, but I probably could feel it in other ways.
This is your opportunity to figure it out before this episode comes out.
Yeah.
So that you'll have already taken care of that.
Deliberate rest.
Yep.
Much easier said than done, but I think that there were some good propositions made.
I hope all of that has been helpful to you. Pass it on to somebody you know, somebody you love. If you have questions, email us, questions@askjoedimatteo.com. We need those. They help us out. What else? Any products we mentioned, like the Essential Sleep, are available on our website. That website is askjoedimatteo.com. That's askjoedimatteo.com. That is also where you can sign up for our email newsletters. You can find out when things go on sale. You can find out when new episodes of the show come out. Go check that out, askjoedimatteo.com. Feel free to leave comments in the video, any show notes, any studies that were referenced or articles. Those will be down below. And I think that's it. Thank you. Which one of the cats is that?
Moon.
That's
Moon
Moon.
with the special guest appearance.
Thank you, Moon, for your special guest appearance. I'm bringing my dog next time. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah.